Apparently my Discord is updating. So that's happening. Okay. I want a topic today. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Gift inventory? What's that? Eh? Weird. Okay. I don't get that. Alrighty. Wait, no. Pop out. Nope, not full screen. Oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. That's a thing. All right. Hi. Hey, what's up? I got COVID and I got to go on Paxlovid and I think it did what it had to do. So, I'm now gonna do Housekeep-a-thon after uh doing essentially nothing for a week. Yes. So it's not, yeah. It 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 could have been a lot worse, obviously. I live with my parents, and they are older, because that's how parents work. And they did not get it from me. Paxlovid keeps the viral load down, so there was like a couple reasons for me to take it. But that was a big concern. So I'm happy about that. Yeah. So I've been testing negative. I mean, I started testing negative pretty early on with the Paxlovid, but you could still have like a rebound because basically like what it does is stop the virus from reproducing. So then it's still up to your immune system to figure out like how to kill virus, which I think turned out pretty well in my case. But yeah, so that happened and didn't ever get it, and yeah, just kind of stressful for, oh well, because yeah. I mean, need I go on? Yeah, but yeah, my parents are safe. Yeah, I was hoping to just never get it, and that is not what happened. I'm probably, well, yeah, no, I think I almost certainly am leaving the job that I was doing, that I ended up getting COVID because of their showcase, and like, I don't know. Or I don't know. It was just like they started loosening up the concerns with it. Merlin wants to go outside. Merlin, if you go outside, are you gonna start barking like as soon as I start streaming? Merlin. I'm letting him outside for now, but he's looking like he's trying to cause stuff. Anyways, but yeah, so I don't know, man. Like, I'm having burnout stuff in general, and just not really sure what to do with it yet. There's a whole bunch of reasons why I'm having burnout, but I think that's how that goes. Did I put this somewhere? I thought I had stream topic somewhere too. Hold on, let me figure this out. Okay. Okay, let me do this one. Topic. Merlin. Okay, that's a question that I want to explore. Yeah. Okay, Merlin barked a little, but then he stopped, so hopefully that's over. I'm not gonna put on music in the background unless you like it. Otherwise, I think I'm not doing it today. Yeah, I think just no. Okay, yeah, time to grab Merlin. Merlin, no! Neighbors have a dog. I don't know what happened there. I think like their son came back and he has the dog. Anyways, there's a dog there now. And they're like, they need to like meet each other, I think, and then they won't be so weird. Okay. All right, HCAT goals. Mine is getting back to baseline. Let me start with laundry. I have laundry to do. I have so many things that haven't happened. So first off, laundry, garbage. Oh God, garbage. I need to take out garbage. I need to, I would like if I could sweep up and take garbage out that has kind of been accumulating. I need to do like a big trash day thing with like my mom has a family friend who's a contractor who has a big dump truck and does like different renovation things, and like we can be like, can you just bring the dump truck over and we can just like throw a bunch of garbage in the dump truck. So I need to do that. Yeah, so I'm burnt out. I don't know how bad I'm burnt out. You have to go to the laundromat. Yeah, I used to have to do that. My parents have so I get to live in a house with my parents who have a house, because once upon a time you could buy houses. That was a long, long time ago. So that happened. and now I have somewhere to live, and I am also progressively going insane about it. So that's been part of it. It's like I have somewhere to live, but I can't live anywhere else. So shit. But yeah, so I do have laundry, but I also have yeah, I have a sense of unease about my inability to keep up with other people that primarily don't have autism. I feel like once I'm in the realm of autism, I'm doing fine. But that's not where money comes in. like you don't get money for doing just fine at autism. That doesn't happen, unfortunately. That is not correlated at all. Oh, that made me laugh because I needed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we did a statistical analysis, I bet the correlation is so incredibly weak. Oh. You're decluttering because you're moving. Oh, well, but hey, it's a place that you really wanted to get to move to, so that's excitement, at least. Yeah. So I think I just hit upon the crux of it with the whole burnout issue. Is that like if you do manage autism well, it doesn't result in financial stability. So then, if you burn out, then managing anything well is just a big old F, you know. And like you can still manage it well relative to what it is, but you still don't get anything for it. You know what I mean? Like there's no reward, there's no prize, there's no nothing. Like, and then I get mad because it feels like my coping doesn't actually lead to any financial rewards, and other people get financial rewards for just like not having autism. I'm like, dope. uh, Hey, Hokie, I am testing negative, so feeling optimistic about that, but still keeping it as restful as I can, and just confronting what is clearly signs of burnout. I don't know if I've ever recovered from burnout. I don't know if it's possible at this point to have a great recovery from burnout, and I just wanted to talk about that without having it be like a pity party situation either. That's not what I want. I actually want to say like, okay, what would actually work? Because I was listening to just some random, autism group and their ideas for it, and they were pretty good. Hello. I'll wait till your mic's on, but yeah, hopefully you can still hear what I'm saying. So yeah, so one of the things that came up was they were saying like, the researcher that was talking about it also is autistic, and when she was going through serious burnout some years back, she talked
Hey, Jane.
the
Can you hear
services
me?
for people who have disabilities, and they just kept emphasizing skills. Like she's like, I need someone to come in and cook food. And they're like, we will teach you to cook. And she's like, I literally don't need that. Oh, let me check, make sure my thing is set correctly. Hold on. It might not be. Give me a second. It probably isn't. And my dog is barking again. Yeah, it's totally not set properly. I have to set this one too. One sec. Properties. I said it wrong. Okay, hold on. All right, it's correct. Hello.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
And are you hearing stuff in the background by any chance?
Not really. Just like a little bit of a
Okay.
voice, but that's it.
Okay. I just want to make sure that wasn't overpowering. Jay is watching a video on the other side of the room. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's very subtle. Can barely hear.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Anyways, burnout. So I think that there should be services for burnout. And one of the things that this really cool researcher who I respect a lot was saying was when she tried to get services for burnout, everything was denied that she needed help with because they wanted to just have someone come and teach her skills. As if at like, I don't know, she burnt out in her late 30s, as if she didn't have those skills. Like, that's not the problem. Yeah, she's the researcher was like a PhD who just happened to burn out because that's what happens. And they're like, I know, we'll give you more work to do. How about that you already know how to do, and assume that that's why you're not doing it.
Because that's how that works.
Yeah, insane.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I don't even, right? So
yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that sometimes.
Right.
You were missing the point.
Yeah.
That picture you sent of at one point with like literally the word point going over someone's head is basically what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I can't, I mean, I can't admit, like, and she would have been going through that as, a professional who has a job that she was able to return to that is in the area of expertise in this, and she has it, and you know what I mean, like she has the accolades and the professional status that you'd think it would go better than that. So I'm like, what hope do I have to, talk to some agency and being like, hi, yeah, I'm like really functional in some ways, but anyways, I don't know how to earn any money whatsoever, and I don't want to move.
But I also don't want to live with my parents forever, you know.
Yeah,
In your
exactly.
scenario.
Exactly. It's like, this is not, I'm running out of options for how to get out of this, so help. Yeah, I'm so relieved that so many autistic people echo this. A lot of women echo this too. There's a whole bunch of like intersectional reasons, of course. Of course. But then that relief kind of like dissipates because I'm like, oh, but nobody has a solution is what you're telling me.
What, did you just assume some of us had the answer, Jane?
I didn't. I did not. That I did not think. I just kind of thought like maybe if people heard enough of us, something would change by now, and it definitely hasn't.
No. Nobody has an answer right now.
No, it's so, and then it's like you can tug people in the right direction in terms of influence by saying like, hey, we have a really high suicide rate, and then they're like, that's bad. I'm like, indeed. like
But
I'm
you don't want to fix why.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what do you want us to do here? Like I and okay, when I first started streaming on Twitch, that's what I first started talking about to other people, was the suicide rate in women, which is super high. It's the highest. And I wanted to raise awareness and have serious discussions about that. And that's difficult to get people locked into for very long, even though it's the only real way to explain my life. like I have to be locked in on it because I have to make sense of it. Like this thing of like, I'm actually somebody who really is grateful for life, and I think fundamentally a happy person, which is very confusing given the situation and how it makes you feel, especially late at night when you're tired and you're especially burnt out. So it's disorienting, and then that it's very easy to mistake your own optimism, your own personality, for you exaggerating your difficulties. Like when I feel good, when I feel like myself, more or less, right? I kind of have this delusion that, oh, well, then they'll just fix it because I'm fine, right? Because I'm fine because everyone wants me to be fine. And I'm not fine. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm so sad that I'm not fine. It means I'm autistic and there's problems that I don't have enough support with, so I can't happy my way out of it. And that makes me mad too, because then I see like people without autism who are definitely not happy, who have, plenty of things that I don't have that would resolve my burnout completely. So it's like, like what are you supposed to do with this? And then I'll finish my thought too. Like, I posted on my Instagram about having burnout and just sort of my general thoughts on it, just in a little text thing. And what I wanted to get across, and I hope I did, was that like I know there are major problems that are like disastrous and unresolved. There are serious problems in the world. So I understand how this is dropped down to a lower priority, but also but also why? Like, why can't this be? I kind of am losing my ability to understand why this isn't being addressed. Besides that, it's difficult to understand autism because we're able to do so many things that people associate with a functional person. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of at a loss at this point.
Things like this that require a fundamental change in society are only going to change when enough people are personally affected.
Right. Right.
People, like, even, like, not even talking like how selfish that is, that's also just baseline survival based.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
people only care if they either have it or know someone close to them that has it for
Right.
literally anything.
Right. Which sucks.
We're
Which
not at
sucks.
that point. We're
Yeah.
not at that point.
Yeah. And it's frustrating for me because like what I want to convince people is that because okay, here's the paradox that if I could get this into people's brains, to be like, oh, okay. So these people that are surprisingly quote unquote functional, that's what they're being clocked as, who can't do these life, you know, like instrumental life skills and stuff like this because of burnout. Like they need something to actually change in their
Hmm?
material reality, right? And so those people have a lot to offer. So that functionality that people mistake for, oh, you can take care of yourself in these ways, what is your problem, is actually functional for contributing to the world's problems. That's where I'm like, we're good workers though, but we can't show you that because of this issue with the burnout and these things that you expect from people that we're not able to do. So it's like we don't get to do what we can do, which are really powerful contributions because we are intelligent and we are pretty good at staying focused on a task that we want to do. But it's like you can't just make our brains be different. It's not we can't contribute a different set of things than what we're able to. So it's very frustrating to me because like I think it does impoverish everybody. I think everybody loses for this. Especially if we run around and we like celebrate people who are more than likely, in the past who would have been autistic, who clearly are autistic. We celebrate the things and the inventions and all that stuff. But that's uncomfortable because then it implies that there's something superior about having autism, and that's not good either because that's not something anybody ever wants to think, that like your genetics could create a greater ability to create complex inventions. That's not good. So it's like, I understand. I do how complicated this is to talk about, but I have to live it. So even though it's complicated to talk about, I can't ignore it, or I can't it impacts me every single day. So it's like, do I avoid conversations that I need to have because other people don't know what to do with it, or do I erase my entire daily experience of my entire life? And it's interesting because I think I put it in watch party or like resources. I think I maybe put it in autism resources, but like the people were saying that one thing that would help would be peer support models. So autistic people are naturally gravitating towards peer support models, but we're not getting paid like peer support specialists for what we're contributing. So we're doing it for free for each other because nobody else is going to do it, for one. And it's not about the money. It's about like, I have to take care of these people's health. You can't just like try to get money in a system that breaks you. It won't work. Like, you'll just you can't get the money. You'll just burn out trying to get the money to try to not be burnt out. So it's like when somebody asks me like, what's the big problem? Like, I can't earn enough money to fix these problems. That's the issue. And I don't know who to talk to, or like, I basically have to talk to neurotypicals with money and convince them to like sponsor me or something. I don't or the ideas of autistic people and our peer support ideas. And that's sort of what I want to do with this idea, like with the nonprofit, which I just got kind of derailed from, which sucks. But like, it's okay, I'll just pick back up. But like, I'm just upset that basically any autistic person that wants to resolve this is going to be in the same sort of boat that I'm currently in. And like, that sucks. Like, it's like, for once in my life, I feel like I have the right idea, and it's not distorted by misunderstandings of what actually is my autism. I'm like, no, this is pretty bang on accurate. But then I look at the world around me, and it's like they're not really ready for what that actually is. Like, the reason I had all these distorted ideas about myself was that there wasn't a conception of what autism is. So you were given all of these other narratives that more aligned with the beliefs and narratives of the world at large. So then it's like that's for an autistic person right now. I think our whole lives are like beyond the imagination of the narratives produced by our society, which is like a bold claim. You're not supposed to be in that situation, because that's like, oh well, now you're making excuses. I hear it all in my head. It's so frustrating. I'm gonna look at chat for a sec. Oh, that's rad, Comet. Yeah. My dog is going nuts for some reason. He's like upset that I'm not giving him attention, so I'll try to do some of that.
It's the same reason every dog gets annoyed when you're paying attention to anyone else.
Yeah. He's like, but we're best friends. That was the deal.
Yes, dog, best friend does not mean only. Be
Yeah.
quiet. My dog cat is like that, and I say that because he is half dog. Oreo is half dog.
I'll give Merlin a chance to play a little. Do you think the problem is that right now there's nothing legally we can do? Because part of it I was looking at, like, I'm like, well, could I go on disability? And like, autism really doesn't qualify unless like you basically can't.
You have to be completely incapable of speech.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't communicate. You literally can't be able to talk to people and ask for things or anything. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, wait, what?
A little bit. But that's true, though.
Yeah.
That's the only way at the moment.
Yeah.
Though it's weird because I actually know somebody that their mom is literally on disability for no other reason than that she is deemed like too depressed and anxious to work.
Interesting.
So I am impressed that they manage that, because I don't know a single other person that has managed this.
Right.
But apparently it is technically, theoretically possible.
I've heard that's possible too. And then I guess like what my problem with how people are viewing autism, I said this in my post on Instagram, is like when they want to address burnout, what everything is actually coming from is repurposing severe depression stuff for neurotypicals, and burnout is not neurotypical severe depression, like, at all. Like, this is not the same thing remotely. So like, that's not gonna help us. Like, so maybe the issue is like we have to actually have a challenge to our governments to say, hey, you cannot have like other categories repurposed for this. You have to understand this as a separate thing that you're currently doing absolutely nothing for. And I'd almost want to hear like their excuse for doing absolutely nothing at this point. like I'd love to know. Like,
Yeah,
Why
right.
why don't we matter? I want to know. Because you can't say that it's like, oh, well, you're not valuable enough because you can't do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, well, I've never been able to do X, Y, and Z. And yet you valued me in school because I'm smart. So when did you stop valuing that? As soon as I turned 18?
Basically.
So
When you
then,
turned
yeah,
18 and didn't go to college, basically.
right, right. And as far as I can tell, it's like even like, oh man, I have so many feelings. It feels like
That is a squeaky toy from the dog, right?
yes.
Okay. As long as that's what that is.
Yeah. I'm getting him some playtime while he's being a
Hi, Merlin.
goof. Merlin, I don't want to go outside though because I'm going to lose my reception on my headset. It's like, what's so frustrating is I don't even know how I would ever talk to like a representative. Like, what would I do? You know what I mean? I've never. First of all, you're supposed to only talk to like representatives about, you know, something horrible they're fucking up, like how we can all get murdered by guns, something like that, right? Like that's when you call your representatives because something's right. So, what do you do if you're like, hi, the entire country doesn't know what to do with autistic adults, and I am one, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know who to talk to. Yeah, just help. Yeah, who do I ask for help? Like, I'm gonna ask y'all because I'm a citizen, right? And all citizens like me are not doing very well in pretty much the exact same way. So, do you care about us or not? Like, that's sort of where it's at in my head. Is like, do
I mean,
you?
it's true.
Right. And if you don't care about us,
we know the answer is no.
right,
By the way.
right, but I want,
yes or no.
I at some point I almost want to just sit down and be like, hey, so like I'm autistic, so you can actually be totally honest with me, and if you say, hey, don't tell the press or whatever, I won't. I want to know, like, an honest answer as to like, do you care or not, and then explain to me why you don't. like tell me why, and then I can just understand how you think, and then I don't know, I'll have like some closure.
Because the answer is that they don't.
Right. And then it'll get into like, the worst thing that could happen is some sort of gaslighting, sort of like scapegoating. Oh, but there's all these other people. I'm like, yeah, okay, true. And like
but a lot of these things would help several other people, so I don't see your point.
Right. And a lot of those people in those categories of all the other people who are sad
are also not being helped.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like you're so
your
busy
point is
helping
invalid.
them. Yeah. It's like you're just
your point is invalid.
You don't know how to help people, so you gave up.
Basically,
cool.
they don't know how to help in a way that wouldn't prevent them from either making money or hurt their ability to.
Right.
Depending on the person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think people believe me that I'm autistic. I was just looking at Comic Girl's thing. I think they believe me because I'm just so weird that they're happy enough to be like, yeah, sure. Like, they'll take it. But they may not understand it. They may not know what that really means. Like, they'll kind of like open up their understanding of what autism is to include like, Jane's weirdness is explained by this, and that's fine.
Well, that's further than some people, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah, if you hang around me long enough, like, you'll notice. Like, it's not It's not subtle.
I know I put it in Discord that I told somebody in my drum corps about it, and they've only known me since like November, and it's only been like, every like once a month at first that I even saw them at all. And their only response was, "Yeah, I had already figured that one out." I'm like, "Really?"
Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Good to know.
I think there's blindness around it too that's kind of dissipating. Like, people are seeing more of us online, and like, they may be able to sort of like compare it to something they've already experienced at least. So it's better for that reason too. Okay, I'm gonna let Merlin out and see what he does. He starts screaming at me or anything else. Nope, here he goes. I probably should have burnt off some of. Okay, we're gonna leave him for a bit. See if he doesn't do anything. All right. Yeah, I think I have masking, but it's like not very coordinated is the problem. So if you see me for long enough, I will have messed up enough things that it would be like, that's not right.
Well, I think no one is able to do that completely all the time.
No, definitely not.
That's just not possible.
Mm-mm. My understanding of my masking is that like I have the wrong mix of things. Sometimes like things will be seamless, and then something like breaks in a way that like is almost like breaking the laws of physics. Like, that's not supposed to happen there. Like, I had a comic I drew once. I'll have to find it and repost it if it's not on. I think it's somewhere in the Discord. But it was like I had this thing of like how to believe you're not, how to be as awkward as possible, and it was like explicitly tell people you're awkward, have them not believe you, choose to believe that maybe you really aren't awkward, and then say or do anything at all. And it's just me like high kicking through the room, saying I've always wanted sea monkeys and let's talk about death.
That's one way to think of it.
Yeah, and that was way before I got diagnosed, so I knew this was an issue.
I've told Jay before that I think if the people I talked to in high school, so like the people I played D&D with in high school, if I saw them again and told them, they would be like, "Yeah, you didn't know,"
Right.
or something.
Right.
At least one of them, I feel like, probably had figured it out already and just assumed I knew and never said anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like is a lot of people in my life, but
yeah, I think people didn't know what to say is part of it too. Like, sometimes I would get you know what was weird? I would get feedback when I wasn't doing well for other reasons, where people were like, finally, that explains it. So like when I had mono, everyone was like, I found out years later, thought that I was like on drugs or something, and I'm like, okay. like I had mono, so I was like super skinny, and like my celiac disease was getting active, so I was like really scrawny, so they thought I was just like on meth. I'm like, so you think
oh
I
my
had the
God.
personality of somebody on meth? Great, thanks.
So somehow they're thinking that, like, depending on how their brain works, why did it jump to the worst one?
I'm not sure. I
have a lot of questions hearing that, and one of them is, why is that the jump you made?
I don't. And at the time, I was like, getting really good grades. I don't know. I give up.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I understand not knowing what to make of it, but that being the thing you assume is concerning to me.
Yep, it is. It sure is something. So, yeah, I'm weird enough that I think people just like pull out a dartboard and then one day they get kind of ambitious. Like, I got it. I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Oh my god. You're a lot more like, I don't know the term for this right now. I don't know if like energetic about it is the word. I can't figure this out right now.
Mm-hmm.
But then people like me are, so people are more likely to figure it out with you.
Right. Well, and I think people assume, okay, I think this is changing. There was an assumption that people with autism are kind of like not expressive. So if you see a lot of people advocating for themselves online, there's a lot of people who are very expressive. And that looks different in an autistic person. Like a very expressive autistic person isn't actually that similar to a very expressive non-autistic person. Like it's not. But the stereotype is that we're not very expressive, and I would consider myself a pretty expressive person. Like obviously
Yeah.
I still shut down. So you put me in the wrong situation or I'm having too much going on, then that's not the case. But in general, I think I'm an expressive person. So then when I'm doing that, people are like, well, then that means you're normal. I'm like, why would
No.
you think that?
No. No, it doesn't. And I'm thinking, you guys have not talked to Jane long enough if you're thinking this.
Right. It's such an odd. It's changing now, but for a long time that was kind of the way that people would screen you for like, are you normal or not? Very expressive, normal. And then when they think I'm not normal, they're like, oh, very expressive, not normal, must be a train wreck. And I'm like, no.
Not exactly.
I'm still a complete dork, but I am an expressive dork. I don't know what to do either with that.
Trust me, we spent a long time trying to figure this out too.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We don't know.
Yeah. I think also the belief is that if you are somebody who's very able-bodied and autistic, then the only problems you must be having are social in nature. And I'm like, no, that's not true. And also,
the problem is that that's how they diagnose it, though. That's how they find it.
Right.
Nobody's finding these things based on like the emotional regulation issues. Nobody's finding that.
Right. Well, I mean, for good reason too, though. Like I definitely hid that the most because I'd seen movies of teenage girls being sent to institutions. I'm like, no thanks.
Oh God.
Yeah, I didn't want to be girl interrupted.
Oh my God.
So yeah, if you can.
That was the first mistake.
Yeah, if you can hide it, there's a lot of incentive to hide it, like the regulation stuff, and try to fix it. Like we're very motivated to fix it on our own because we do realize that we will be treated worse for it. So, that's, and if you're already getting bullied and ostracized, that's pretty nightmarish to think of, getting treated worse. Especially getting treated worse by people that respect you because of how smart you are. Like that's sort of the issue, is that the people that run those institutions are the smart doctors, right? So those are the people who I can, impress the pants off of. So why would I want to damage that? So it's all quite like rational if you break it down from the perspective of the autistic person, and you're watching this transpire over your life, and it's pretty easy to work it out. Like, this is my options. I can't tell people about these problems, and so we don't have a lot of information about it. And we're only starting to have it now because people can talk about it online and show that most of the time we're very down to earth, I would say, actually. So then talking about these times when we're struggling is not as difficult for people to hear about, but we never got help while it was happening, which is a problem.
Who just hopped in?
Hi.
Me.
Oh, hello,
Hello.
Rowan.
What's up?
I am testing negative, which is good.
Hooray!
Yeah. It could still rebound, so rest, but getting the living environment better and talking about burnout and what would actually be a meaningful solution to it, and all of the excuses for that not happening that I'm mad at.
Seems reasonable. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's a difficult sort of, maybe not difficult, but like complicated or complex sort of question to approach.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, it's everything.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I mean, that is the answer.
Just like it's the whole thing. If we scrap the whole thing and let autistic people build the new one, it'll be good. It'll be better, and everybody will love it.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Good luck with that, Rowan.
I'll. You know, it's a heavy burden, but I'll do it for everyone.
Well,
Someone has to.
I was thinking that, like, one of the issues with that, I was saying this earlier, is like, well, then who's supposed to help us with that? I'm like, do you go to your representative? Like, are we supposed to take this to, what, the Supreme Court or some shit? Like, what do we do?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, definitely not the Supreme Court, because
No.
that's
they're
a
not.
racket.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, like,
In
we
theory.
should. Yeah, right. I mean, well, yeah, we should
You
get
can't
rid
go
of the
straight to them
Supreme Court.
anyways.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I see, and that's the thing. Like, how?
Can I sue America for accidentally killing us?
No, you cannot.
No, you
Damn.
cannot do that.
Damn.
Jane, because you would be saying that, but it would also be the judges who do that kind of shit also there for that.
Right.
Yeah,
No, you cannot.
Like,
It'd be you versus the world in terms of the case title.
Cool.
like,
Which doesn't work.
can we get a remake of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but it's Jane fighting the Supreme Court?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
We'll do it.
Well,
Rowan,
instead of 7 evil exes, it's 7 evil judges.
Well, hang on though. This is on some level.
Rowan, you're the graphic design person. You figure it out.
Wait. So on some level, my brain's like, no, wait, this is reasonable. I was told that I should be a lawyer. Wait. Like.
Well, so.
You have to lie as a lawyer, though, so no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I come
Autistic
at
people
it
should not be
from-
lawyers.
Well, I won't be a lawyer, but I mean, if people thought I could do that, maybe I can take on the entire world.
Like, how do you legislate, like, for autistic, like what
Her turn now.
what would the legislation even be? You
Well,
know?
first you'd have to have research that says what is necessary for an autistic person to live that they can't supply themselves, that becomes a disability accommodation that's necessary for life. Like, you'd have to basically argue that this is a viability problem. Like, without this, they can't actually live. They can't pursue their civil rights. Like, they can't have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. They can't do it. Like, you would have to prove that with research, which you probably could pretty easily, to be honest.
That last one you could prove.
Yeah.
I think you could definitely find a way to prove that last one, but good luck. because
Yeah.
I think you could prove that one in a literal sense, but I don't know if you could prove it in like an official legal sense.
Pursuit of happiness, I think you could, because life you could prove because we're killing ourselves. So like we have other problems too, where doctors aren't taking us seriously, and we have comorbid conditions. So you could show our life expectancy is disastrous, right?
Garbage.
Yeah. And then in terms of liberty, like isn't that something to do with not being, beholden to
Dead?
people? Well, I mean, this is the thing, is like we can't really pursue that many jobs. We can't really do that many things. We can do far less things than we are cognitively capable of because of the issues that we have. So it's like, I don't know, like a lot of us would be dependent on other people to a point that isn't really necessary, but nobody's doing an intervention that addresses the autism, so you can't get out of that. So you're kind of stuck, like.
Right. So, well, and that does bring me back to the question: what would we be legislating? Right.
Yeah.
Are we like, is this like is this a Mr. Rogers against Congress sort of situation where we just need to convince Congress that this is something that like absolutely needs to be funded?
Yes.
Or are we literally trying to compel the government to create legislation that further then compels people to help us?
No, I think it's funding. I think it's funding.
Okay.
I think we need government funding. I think that we need a program that's specifically for autistic adults that has government funding and can have a variety of programs and initiatives and whatever.
Yeah, I think that, because it's like, and I know that I'm not the only one. I've talked to people as well that like many of us just straight up don't qualify for disability.
Yeah.
Not that disability is a good system.
No.
Anyway, it's not
terrible.
livable. But like, the fact remains that the only financial assistance that like program that exists that we would theoretically qualify, many of us just don't anyway.
Right. Even though we have a pervasive lifelong disability.
Correct.
Which it sort of like doesn't make sense, is why you would want to kind of look at that. And I even was like asking some questions, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't qualify because you have to not be able to speak at all. Wow.
Yeah, you have to have like, I mean, the truth of the matter is that it still has a lot to do with the stigma around neurological disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
That broadly, especially within like a legal or like statewide sense or like federal sense, that disability is largely considered to be physical.
You can't even get
if your
things.
movement is not disabled, then in the eyes of like the state or the law, you're not disabled.
Mm-hmm.
Not that people that operate within the confines of those systems wouldn't agree that you're disabled, but at the same time, they have protocols that would say, like, sorry, we can't help you.
Right.
Pretty much. You can't even get disabilities for some things that are physical half the time.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And that's why I'm like, I don't want to go through that system, because it's clearly not built for this in the first place.
Right.
None of the systems are.
Yeah. No. Well. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. That too. But I mean, like obviously, for neurotypicals, that's sort of like where I'm at. Where I'm like, that's not going to work. I don't want to change to be able to use their stuff because I can't. So I don't want to pursue things that are meant for neurotypicals that people assume would help me, because they don't. And even in so much as you've put me in a system made for a neurotypical person, I will perform in unexpected ways anyway. Like, what's the point? Like, I'll be good at things you don't expect I should be. I'll be bad at things you don't expect I should be. There's almost no point in me being there at all. So it's like, I just want to have resources earmarked for autistic people for us to develop our own shit, which, by the way, the experts are getting on board with. Whoa, something happened?
My roommate just scared the shit out of me.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
It's an ongoing problem that one of us will be in the kitchen, typically standing at the sink doing dishes. The other will come around the corner and scare the shit out of the other.
Yeah.
So it wasn't on purpose, at least?
No, it was not on purpose. They were actually delivering groceries.
Oh, okay. Even better then. They were doing something helpful.
Indeed. Oh, I'm sorry. What you were saying before?
That was honestly really funny, Robin.
Yeah.
Until my heart jumped out of my chest.
That was funny though.
Oh.
I think I was just saying that, like, yeah, I think maybe funding is what I want, and then I need to figure out, like, who do I talk to that knows shit about that, and be like, here's what I want to do. I want funding from the government for its citizens with autism, because it's a requirement for us to have our civil rights.
Oh God, that's
Yeah,
that's a heavy thing to try and sell. Holy shit!
Wait, no, Melissa. You had some.
Sorry, I can't read chat. I am
no.
in the kitchen.
If Jamie, if somebody said that to you, that's because they are a bigot. That is not cool that they said that. I would, if you don't have to interact with that person in the future, I would avoid the shit out of them. They're just not worth your time. I would say that that person is deeply, profoundly ignorant, and that's an abusive thing to say in general. I'm sorry that they said that to you. They had no right to say that to you. That's not their place. They're a poor representative for whatever religion that they are in. In fact, I would suggest they stop trying to convert people, because they're just going to drive people away. That's gross. And yeah, I would tell that person, please respect my boundaries and never, ever, ever speak to me again. Do not speak to me. Do not speak to my brother. Do not speak about us. Leave us out of your bullshit. Thank you.
Yeah, I went over to my computer to read that based on that reaction, and no, that is inherently what is wrong with all religion, is statements like that.
Yeah.
People trying to do shit like that. No.
Yeah. And that
Hi,
person,
Jamie, by the way.
that person would 100% be trying to exploit the disabled to keep their religion going. That is how you recruit people with false promises, and you get people who have a lot of enthusiasm and, need for belonging, and recruit them into a cult. So, like, that person sucks. Gross. And I
have
sorry that
so many
happened.
thoughts. I have so many thoughts, but that no.
Yeah. Yeah, that person just got thrown out of the gets to talk to you club permanently.
It is most likely that the people in their church do not support that kind of shit being said either.
Yeah.
No religious text says shit like that.
No, it's yeah, it's like folk religion.
That's not religion. That's just someone being hateful and using religion as an excuse.
And Jamie, I appreciate that, and just like whatever I wanted to say. So in the space that I'm cultivating, I'm going to have people who have different presentations, which we've mentioned a bunch of times. So I want to be respectful of your presentation while also having practical skills, so we can all share the space. Not everyone's going to have perfect overlap with my presentation, and at times there may be stuff that I don't know how to handle, or I don't know how to interface with, because the thing with being neurodivergent is it is a number of different presentations and even comorbidities. So we may just have at times conflicts with that, but I don't take it personally, and I hope that you know that. I hope that you don't take it personally for me as well. That would be the ideal, but it's not easy to have these spaces and work through that. It's not easy. I do the best that I can, but I wish I had professionals that I could interface with and be like, hey, I'm out of my depth. I don't know if this is something that I can interface with. Please give advice. And I don't have that resource, although I would love to one day. So yeah. Anyways.
Good to see you in stream though, Jamie.
Yeah. Likewise. Okay, I'm folding up clothes, looking at my dog. He's very active. Yeah, so I think with burnout, it's like I feel like this needs to be taken seriously. This isn't a charity issue. This is a life problem. Like this is not going away.
Yeah.
And it like something has to be done directly about it. It's not first of all, it's just not fair. Like I feel like I could take this on the level of like I feel that as a citizen I was made false promises that could never be fulfilled. Like I don't live in a nation that can actually accommodate me. Like my nation is not one that understands the problem here even. And the denial of that is costing people their lives. Like,
yeah, that's accurate.
Because when I think about like the avenues that I could take this idea, and then I'm like, okay, well maybe I could go this direction, and then I sit down and learn a whole bunch of information about whatever avenue I'm looking at, and I'm like, this doesn't look like it's made for this. Like this again looks like I'm gonna have to take this structure that's meant for other people doing something different and try to see if I can make it be the thing that we use to break out.
I think that it's really going to come down to, and I feel like this is the case for so many things in our lives right now, like specifically our lives.
Yeah.
Not the royal hour.
Right.
That like we need to identify who, either the individual or the group, can genuinely address this problem, and how do we contact them and get them to help us. Right. I think that certainly, I know, Jane, like you have plenty of respect for receiving help from experts in other fields and stuff, but I think that even there is this sort of tendency to be like, all right, well, how do I fix this?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like the scope of this problem is just so enormous.
Right.
To even address it on your own is absurd. Not that you couldn't spearhead the effort, as you have with many of the things that we're trying to do here.
Right.
But I do think that when it comes to securing funding or establishing actual support systems on like a statewide or a federal level, like we need experts, like genuinely, like we need to figure out who would help with this, can help with this, and how do we get them to help us with this.
Right. And the problem is, like, my first thinking was like, I have all this background as a performer, so I thought I was going to go the sing for our supper route and get attention enough, but then I realized that that's really dangerous because of the way the internet is set up.
Right.
So that's not going to work. So it's like, okay,
that is dangerous.
No, it is. And I'm like, I don't want to dangle myself in front of a bunch of like sociopaths that just sit online all day trying to find people like me to destroy because they don't like anyone having hope, especially people who are disabled. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. So then I need to go directly to people who are serious people. okay, how do I do that? And that's, now we're in another realm of like, okay, this is just frustrating. Like, I know it's real. Like, I because of the way I don't think I'm alone in this, because of the way our brains think, we can be kind of epic thinkers, right? So I'm like, okay, am I distorting this? Am I making too big of a deal out of X, Y, or Z? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm definitely not. The way that I experience it sucks, and I try to make the best of it, but I'm not alone at all. Like, this is not about me. This is not about me. That's the big part. It's like, it really is about autism. And then
Yeah.
that has to be addressed because I'm supposed to be in a pretty good boat and I'm sinking. So who's not sinking? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of us. I think there's something wrong with the system.
And something I was thinking about, not to say that I think we shouldn't start a nonprofit. I think that could still be an incredible resource, but it does occur to me that the concept of a peer support space and like non-governmental agencies have become the norm
Right.
for supporting autistic people. And I don't know enough about the nonprofit space to know how much funding is being funneled from the government into these support organizations.
Right.
But I know for sure that there is not a government fund specifically for the survival of autistic people.
Right. Right.
And I think that the longer that we go relying on non-official entities supporting autistic people, the longer or the more sort of solidified the concept of that being the solution.
Right. Like, it's a charity issue. Right. And so
exactly. And
then
this
it's
is
a charity
like,
issue instead of an issue of my citizenship being impossible to actually make good on.
Right. Yeah. And it does make me think of like philanthropy and such, that like, you know, the idea that philanthropy is good, and it's like, well, it's not bad, but maybe we shouldn't have a situation where we rely on philanthropy, because that's going to create a positive feedback loop.
Right. And in the case of autism, like, basically we're relying on non-autistic people to pity us enough to give us their money. Like, it just seems crazy.
Basically, yeah.
I don't think that's how it should be. Like, that doesn't make sense.
It's also not as long-term successful either, unfortunately.
Right.
But it's frustrating knowing that like actually describes my life to a degree. Like, I am constantly just low-key hoping that the next person I appeal to, not even like consciously, just like, you know, talking about being autistic, is going to be a wealthy person that's going to be like, oh, you poor thing, let me give you a bunch of money.
I know. I feel that as an artist. I mean, that's,
And it's like, that's never going to happen. Nobody's going to do that.
Right. They do it in movies.
But it feels right, exactly. They do it in movies, and maybe that's why I think it's going to happen, because I grew up on movies. Well, because
other people think it's going to happen tue. They're like, you're such a good person that, you know, your magic, you know, fairy godmother with money will show up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, I've talked about this a lot. That like, it feels like financial success is fundamentally out of reach for me.
Yeah.
Unless something like absurdly low probability happens.
Right.
where I just somehow make a lot of money.
So to keep myself going, I'm like, can I get myself to believe that I might run into a genie, even though I've lost that belief because I'm an adult, right? But I'm like, I don't even know how to keep the motivation going because I'm like, the only thing that my brain is coming up with is like, how do you solve this? I'm like, genies?
Maybe all the genies had hid themselves away because they're afraid of humanity.
Right, exactly.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. Me too.
It's like,
Who knows? Maybe they're out there just waiting for a nice little autistic person to be
Right?
like, please help.
I was like, I know too much about the laws of physics right now, which is unfortunate, but can I ignore it?
We can try.
We can try. If I ignore it hard enough, can I have a genie?
Ignore it hard enough, it may become reality.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god.
I think that's called schizophrenia.
Right, which I can't unfortunately will myself into having.
I'm sorry if there are any schizophrenics in our audience. That was a little bit insensitive.
Well, the joke is that they used to think autism was schizophrenia. I'm like, look, it's not.
Yeah.
I promise I'm not hearing anything like.
Yeah, I have friends who do, and I don't have that. I have other problems. I have other fantastic problems that are not that one, but we're not the same people. That's all.
You saying fantastic problems? I don't know why I'm laughing at that. I really don't know.
We have the best problems. They're fantastic problems.
Not everybody knows that these problems are. A lot of people are saying these problems. Oh my god. These problems are the best problems.
Why am I now imagining like an animatic of like autistic Trump?
Oh god.
Why is that in my brain now?
Sorry.
And the problem is, Rowan, you have now put that in everyone's. And I don't know how I feel about this. I can't decide. It's a very interesting image to have in my head while I'm like cleaning my stove, but okay. Thankfully, dishes are already done.
Oh, that's good.
I did some of them.
Well, like, I didn't have any dirty dishes, I just needed to put dishes away. Different problem. I live in a tiny space. For like, hang on, I have a countdown on my phone. How many days am I at?
Oh, that's exciting.
I'm not kidding, Jane. I actually have a countdown on my phone.
No, I would do that too. That's great.
54.
Awesome. Yeah, enjoy that.
That is what is getting me through the next month, I think.
Yeah. That's a good strategy. I love it.
Oh yeah, Rowan, I don't think you read the shenanigans, but I panicked all week because the new property manager didn't contact me with like confirmation of move-in, and I found out that she misread my handwriting of my email.
Oh no.
That is very unfortunate, but
I panicked so much.
You're gonna be getting into an apartment. That is cool.
Yeah, I just
the panic
it's the most
time
ridiculous
is
shit. Mostly, yeah.
True. The moving part is also Panic City, but
yeah,
it's mostly over.
I mean, like we still have to. I have to pay the deposit and sign the lease and stuff still, because you can't sign the lease until you pay the deposit.
Correct.
But I know that I have one now, and I know I'm actually approved now. So I just have to figure out how in the world I do certified checks or money orders, which I don't know yet.
Money orders are really easy.
Yeah, I thought they were.
Some banks do them. Although it's very common these days that banks no longer do money orders.
Don't credit
but
unions
you
do
can
that?
literally Yes, credit unions do them. So if you have a credit union, you can go through them. But seriously, the easiest way is just go to a gas station.
Oh.
'Cause the thing is, since it's such a large amount, like whenever I looked it up, it looked like I needed multiple money orders for this, and that is
Yeah, anywhere you
infuriating.
go, it's going to be multiple money orders.
So
I know credit unions have higher limits, but most of them it's still like $1,000.
yeah,
If it's any consolation, when I paid my my deposit and like all subsequent fees for my first apartment when I moved to San Francisco, I had 8 money orders.
Oh.
yeah, I believe that.
So,
I do need
like,
to
they
double
definitely
check with
don't.
her.
Yeah, they definitely don't care.
Yeah, I need to double check with the property manager because she sent me a thing. So since I'm moving on July 7th, I'm paying the deposit and I'm paying like the part of July that I'll be there
Yeah.
for, and I don't remember what the other small fee is, but it didn't have the cat deposit listed, so I need to clarify with her about that.
Yeah, some places don't do pet deposits.
Oh, she does. It's like it's
Okay.
on the list that they do. I just need to make sure that it is included in this.
Do you have like like a primary care provider that you're
Oh.
like familiar with?
Hmm?
Like do you have a doctor that you have like familiarity with?
No.
Okay.
Not currently.
I was asking
The question surprised me for some reason.
the reason I asked is because if you have one of your pets identified as an emotional support animal, they can't make you pay to have that animal.
I understand that that's a thing, but
And it's
honestly,
super easy. You literally just go to your doctor and be like, "Hey, can I get a recommendation letter for my emotional support animal?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, here you go."
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, like even though I know that this is a thing, and I know that the whole ESA thing is kind of a controversial thing, I really don't feel right doing that when honestly, like I don't have an issue affording the amount. I'm gonna be fine. So I don't like taking advantage of the system. Is my point.
But is the system
why
taking
not?
advantage of you?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
yes.
understand not wanting to take advantage of people. I don't want to take
Yeah.
advantage of people either. But I promise you, if you don't pay that pet deposit, that landlord is gonna be fine. They are they are fleecing every single person living there right now. That's how landlords work. They charge exorbitant amounts of money for something that they put very little work into. If they put work into it at all, which is a common issue with landlords. Like, they don't need that pet deposit. They really don't. It's something that they do to ensure that it's literally just an extra profit margin, right? they force you to pay for your pets in the event that they cause damage, which you already paid a security deposit for anyway. And then if the pet deposit is non-refundable, unlike the security deposit. So if your pet doesn't cause any damage, they get to pocket that $250.
Yeah, so the terrible thing for my situation is that the new place, I believe I have to pay a deposit of $300, I think.
Yep, that sounds about right.
And there's also pet rent monthly.
Yep.
So, I don't know. This is a joke, but I'm like, can Jay also go get the other cat as his?
Oh wait, maybe.
I actually don't know how that works when there's more than one animal.
I don't. Well, that's what I'm saying is, can I take one and he take the other?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know
either.
It might not even be a problem. It might just be that if one animal is identified as an emotional support animal, they're not going to make you pay for any. But I don't actually know.
I don't think it works that way, but Yeah, either way, like, I just want to know what I'm paying. I'm not mad that there's a deposit. I'm really not. I just want to know what's happening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with an individual, the
Because I'm
dynamic is
talking to the property
different.
manager, so the property manager doesn't really have, like, real authority over anything. That's been
Sure,
half
but
of the
they've
anxiety is she's had to hunt down the owner to approve my application. Basically, that's
sure,
been
but
the
I mean,
problem.
she's she has protocols and policies that she has to follow, and like
Well,
the thing I
the
brought
system
up
wouldn't let her.
is law, right?
Yeah.
If you have an emotional support animal, by law they cannot make you pay to have that animal in your home.
So even though I don't have a primary care provider, I technically
And
do have a psychiatrist. So
Oh,
that is
that's
arguably
even
better.
better. That is better.
no,
Yeah.
that'll work. That's even better. Yeah, and I mean, I said, do you have someone you can rely on? But when
Yeah.
I did it, I didn't have a doctor. I had just moved to San Francisco. I literally called the nearest doctor that had good reviews, and yeah,
Yeah,
I got a physical and a emotional support letter for my cat.
I really need to get a primary care doctor at some point. My psychiatrist wants me to get a primary care doctor, and he also still wants me to get this blood test I never did.
Oh yeah, I have stuff like that.
So, well, the problem was the first time I tried to call to set up an appointment, the company that you put it through, LabCorp or whatever, they said that they didn't have the order. So, I've had that happen twice now. So, I don't know what to do on that front. Every time I call them, it's not the psychiatrist's fault, it's his staff or whatever.
Right.
But that's been part of the problem, is just LabCorp doesn't wind up having the order somehow, so I can't go to them until they have an order for the blood test.
Right, that's the barrier. Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that. I've had to do that too, where it's like I don't know where the miscommunication is happening, but I'm calling like 3 different people, and I'm like, I feel like you guys could call each other. like, am I wrong?
One of the things I hate the most is phone calls, people.
Right.
As everybody knows.
Yep.
I hope.
Yeah.
I am okay in this call because, one, I had already talked to Rowan over for Steam purposes, but still.
Well, this is a little different too, because it's like we don't have to have the same expectations. Like this I can deal with.
Oh.
It's very different.
Yeah, not at all. It's just funny because I talked to Rowan in support before you or Kyle, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's true.
Not intentionally, but that's what happened.
It does.
Um,
Hey, Waba! Good to see you. Happy you came to life because of procreation. I don't know how you feel about your mom day.
nailed it.
Thanks.
We celebrated we celebrated with Jay's mom instead.
There we go. Cool.
Because she's great and hilarious. So
awesome.
Thank you for consciously reminding my
now.
brain I am your mom now.
Wait, I just had the weirdest remake of Star Wars in my head.
It's funny because I thought of the Captain Phillips meme.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's from the Captain Phillips movie, and it's like the Somalian pirate is like, "Look at me, I am the captain now."
Oh, got it.
Yeah, and so it's a meme of that, of just the I am blank now.
Oh, your Maba's the mom friend. I can see that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Speaking of, I should inform you. I had the COVID, but I had Paxlovid, whatever. So I seem to be testing negative. Yay.
Yay.
You still have to like give it a couple days past this to like make sure the virus is gone. But woohoo!
And at least you're feeling better, if nothing else, too.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
this is the more important part of this, anyways.
Right. So.
Oh God.
Merlin. Okay, Merlin's getting taken back inside. He's barking.
Oh, dogs.
But yeah, I was gonna say, and then I'll kind of move off the topic so that I'm not getting up on my soapbox about landlords, because oh boy, can I do that.
I think we all have a soapbox about this.
But yeah, if you're not dealing with like an individual person that like owns the property, it is very safe to assume that the like whoever the like property management agency or company is trying to fleece you for as much money as possible, and they will do everything in their power to like help you as little as possible within the confines of their legal obligations. Individuals can be different. If it's just like one person that owns a few homes or a few properties, not that that's a sure sort of fire situation that you're going to get a good landlord, because that's not how that works. But with an individual, you have more of a chance of being able to build an individual relationship with them in such a way that they'll catch you some slack, they'll help you out.
Yeah, to be honest,
and I mean, the last thing I wanted to say was that with my first apartment in San Francisco, I actually lost one of my money orders on the way over. I don't know what happened to it. I dropped it somewhere along the way, and so I was $500 short. And the property manager, or the rental manager, because it wasn't the property manager, it was like the person at the office. Anyway, he told me that if I went to a doctor within the first 30 days of moving in, then got an emotional support letter and provided it to her, then they would waive the fees for my pet.
Okay.
So like, the first thing I said is also not absolute, right? This is a pretty large rental agency within San Francisco, and this woman stuck her neck out for me. Like, what she did is almost definitely against company policy, right?
Yes.
They lost money because she said, hey, let me help you out. To be fair, I had like a full-scale autistic meltdown in front of her. Like when I
feel
realized,
bad for everyone that has seen me do that.
Yeah, like when she counted through the money orders and was like, "There's $500 missing," I fucking like collapsed, crumbled. So it was not good. It was very embarrassing for me. So I imagine that sort of thing very likely contributed to her feeling inclined to help me out.
She knew that you weren't making it up either, based on the amount of panic that ensued.
Absolutely, yes.
So, honestly, one of the reasons that I wanted to apply for the apartment at the place that I am is that while no property management system is going to be perfect, and obviously it's money-based, they had the best reviews for that specific property manager that's dealing with that property than any of the others I saw in the area that I could afford. So, if nothing else, at least I know that she will help with things when I get there. Which is really all I can ask for at this point.
Yeah.
Which is a hell of a lot more than I have in the place I'm standing in right now. Or pacing around in, I should say. And Jay's glaring at me for that as we speak.
Hey, I'm pacing too.
Well, I'm pacing because I'm done sorting through clothes, so my brain is still loading.
Okay, Waba says, I mean, nothing short of a total, the topic, nothing short of a total restructuring, but to be realistic, maybe having some sort of training on how to communicate with people, make a journal, not necessarily training of how to handle autistic people, but it really spends on the structure we are trying to be better supportive for us. Well, so I think it might be, was spends the right word there, or am I not understanding? Okay, so depends. There we go. Thank you. So what I think is like, is this a civil rights issue actually, and we haven't been addressing it as a civil rights issue, where it's like, as like, I'm American, so it's like the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, haha. Like we can show from a perspective of research that is made impossible by the situation for autistic adults.
Yes.
So
Yes, we can.
So then it's like, do we just need a governmental program that has funding, period, the end, and it's just for this, instead of like
probably.
Yeah. So then how, so then that's a good idea. Then how do we do that? Like,
I don't know.
Right. Who do I ask to figure that out? That's then I'm like,
It's like, where do I even start? Where do I even start with this? I do not know.
And there aren't enough resources either. Like, the resources are made from the model of like disability support that isn't aware of autism in adults. Like, it predates that awareness. There's no way that it could be.
Yes.
And I think this should be completely separate from that. And then if somebody has additional disabilities, they can go through that thing too.
Which is inherently more difficult for people with those said things anyway, so. Because nothing is simple.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, dog.
He's flopping around like, give me attention.
He's when I like first heard his bark and then saw a picture of him for the first time, I was like, yeah, he looks exactly like he sounds too.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
He sounds like a small little white fluff, and that's exactly what he is.
Yep. Small little white fluff having a slight well, what should I say?
Not slight, he just is.
Yeah. There's a good term for the kind of conniption he's having. Yeah, conniption. He's having
Yeah, I'm not usually the biggest fan of small white dogs, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
Only because small white dogs have been the only dogs that have ever tried to bite me.
Well, to be fair, he's not really white. He's like apricot, and so he's got like, even the white on him is actually like an icy sort of yellow.
Okay.
So he's more of like a mixed orange yellow white combo thing. So it's mostly. Wait, Rowan, what would you say? Rowan, he doesn't he looks like, I don't know, he looks more gingery yellow.
I would not. Yeah, he's not a white dog.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's white furs in there. Like, if you
there are,
I think but one of them and then pulled them on it, like, you'd see it was white. But like, he's like an eggshell white coated in apricot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is good that I'm no longer imagining a small white dog.
Well, what's interesting for Waba's comment, it's like, we need something more than So here's my thing, is like, we don't have autistic people are not able to get enough money, so we literally just need money thrown at us, like, in the context of programs that are innovative, etc., and so forth, right? Like, different things that autistic people could participate in, and this is why it would have to be its own wing. But then you'd have to take this seriously enough and say that, like, you actually need to, I think you need to separate it from other disability services, and like, maybe even thinking of it slightly differently, so that it's not unclear why you would want to start from scratch with this, because I just don't see the quality of life meaningfully improving until it's addressed directly. And it's like, okay, so whose responsibility is that? I'm like, am I a citizen or am I not? Wouldn't it be my government's responsibility?
Yes.
Right? Because
Yes.
UBI would be great, but it's like, okay, well, I know that they've done pilot programs of that in very small like areas. I think like cities and just really tiny ideas of that for very small populations. Okay, well then can you have a pilot program that's all autistic people?
I was literally about to say that. Like, what if we somehow convince the federal government to run a nationwide pilot program for UBI by giving it
Give it to
to
autistic people.
yeah
Bruh.
and I mean to Wabo's point, like we can even use stimulus checks as a really good example of like just giving people money works.
Right.
Because the culture in this country is that you can't just give people money because they're lazy and stupid, and if you just give them money, they're gonna waste it on gambling and avocado toast and coffee, and it's
Even
like
though that's
actually
what
they pay their
inheritance
bills.
is, by the way. Inheritance is literally just that. But go on.
Yeah,
Correct.
but
Correct.
also they just pay their bills.
Yeah.
Like there were surveys done that showed that the overwhelming majority of people that received a stimulus check did not buy frivolous things. They didn't even spend it on groceries. They paid bills. That's what I did. The first stimulus check I got, I invested in the stock market because I was like super into investing at that time. And then I had to pull everything out of my investment portfolio to put my cat through dental surgery.
Yeah.
And I just stopped investing after that. And from then on, I paid debt. I didn't pay bills. I paid debt. I had a lot of debt that I had racked up, and I finally paid it off with my stimulus checks.
The power of a single dollar. Oh, Wabo. That's funny. Well, and it's oh my gosh. Like, first of all, I just want to say, like, if anybody ever's like, oh, if somebody gets free money, they'll spend it on drugs or something. Like, I have done less drugs than probably everybody in government. like
This is true.
I'm
this
sorry.
is very true.
You know, like every tech person, I'm 100% done less drugs than. Like I don't.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. You know, 0 is tough to beat, babes. So like.
It is, and I can't claim that. So, but definitely most of us have probably done less than the people that we are trying to convince that we're
Right,
not doing
exactly,
them, which
Waba.
I find very entertaining.
Yeah, so it's like it's this you know, this weird myth of like somebody not being responsible is just ridiculous.
I think it's also like a wild overestimation of how much drugs cost.
Yeah.
Like, you can buy your drugs and still have a lot of money left over to spend on food and other necessities, which
honestly,
is the majority of where that money would go.
Isn't Whole Foods more expensive? Like,
absolutely. I like,
yes,
in terms 100%. Of like I could make, and this is purely hypothetical based on my past experience, I could make $200 in drugs last me way fucking longer than $200 worth of groceries.
Right.
$200 worth of groceries at max is like 2 weeks, maybe 3. I can make $200 worth of drugs last like 2 months, easy.
I completely believe you.
Heavier users would have a different story, but my point still stands. Yeah, it's just.
I don't know how to segue.
It's also.
I don't know what to say to this.
Yeah,
I don't know what I can say to this, so I'm not.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, it's also like it's another representation of this like this self-deprecating sort of story that our society keeps telling itself about the human condition. that we're lazy
No.
and like
Oh my God. You know what?
unproductive and
That's
that like
the problem with
and
burnout
it's
is that we're not
just
productive and it makes us miserable. Hello?
yeah
Like that's what we're trying to stop being is unproductive.
yeah
Dummies. Like come on.
well, and I mean,
Accurate.
certainly our
Accurate.
specific situation is even better a representation of sort of the inverse of that idea. But like also, most people aren't like that.
Mhm.
Most
No.
Exactly.
people who are also sort of exhibiting behaviors that we call lazy are in a similar situation.
Yeah.
They are
Yes.
miserable. They are in an environment or under conditions that are creating a state of misery that are keeping them from engaging in the things in their life that they think are interesting.
Mhm.
And we treat that as an essential trait of the human condition, as opposed to something that is imposed by material conditions and social environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and this might be not as parallel as I'm imagining it is, but like there's a whole big reparations thing happening in San Francisco right now. Maybe California, but I think it's
I
just San
think it's
Francisco.
California, but I've been seeing some stuff going
Where
around.
they're looking at paying upwards of like something like close to $6 million in reparations to like black citizens.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did.
So
I
it's
did
like,
see that.
at least in California, and I understand
Cool.
the differences in the situations, but I think it at least stands as a as an example that there is some willingness, at least within this state, to provide monetary compensation to people whose promises by the American system have not been fulfilled.
Right.
Certainly, that is a long list of people, but it's something, right? And a lot of people could argue, and I'd probably agree that it's a political stunt, right? That
Well,
it's not, at
it's
least on a broader level. Certainly, there would be people involved that are very passionate about righting this wrong, but
well it's
on a
so it shows
broader level, like Gavin Newsom and such, like there's a lot of political motivations to doing this in the sort of approval rating level stuff that it
well
would do for them.
it's a change in the narrative that would be
It is.
oppositional to us as well. That's what I'm saying. So it's like the
Yes.
same narrative opposes people of all different walks of life who cannot navigate what this system looks like in any way that's fair or equitable. So then
Yeah.
so the arguments as to why are different, but the people who blanket don't want that to happen at all would oppose everybody.
Yeah, and this is one of those situations where sort of in like relative to the outcome, the why kind of doesn't matter as long as it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it doesn't really matter why Gavin Newsom seems to be pushing this reparations policy so heavily, as long as it happens. Right? I don't think anybody that would be on the receiving end of that money is going to scoff at it and take a moment to think, do I want to accept this money because it's politically motivated? Like, no, they're if they're thinking about anything, it's that this is what has been owed to the generations of their family for 200 years, right? So I that's sort of my position is that I don't really care if it's politically motivated. That's not my prerogative. My prerogative is that it happens so that I can lead a satisfying and successful livelihood.
Right.
Because currently I can't do that.
and
despite my best efforts.
and do it with other autistic people, because like part of it is like we want to work together, but if all of us
Yes.
are drowning, then it's like, well, this sucks. Like we're basically like not able to do anything until everyone's okay. Like, and we do want to continue to work with other autistic people. So it's like this is where I have a lot of questions about this, where it's like, what is this supposed to look like? And it's not a morality thing, because like one of the things that's interesting is like there is a support group that's successful that pools its resources and that's AA, right? And that comes out of this moral thing. And if you've ever been over to their meetings, they still stick with that language, which is not very attractive or accurate, but it is what it is, right? So, but we don't have, this is not moral, but you're putting it into the same framework of it, as like, okay, we need to do something that's like a peer support model. A lot of times those are around substance use, and the lineage of that is like self-sustaining, like it's a lot of self-sustaining behaviors, but like those people are even more able to get money than us, because they can, when sober, potentially function just fine. Where there's no state in which we will function just fine. There's nothing we can become that will make us function just fine. And an intervention that's trying to do that is foolish. And if anything, it's just like making us feel worse, and that's not going to help with the whole mental cost of this.
Right.
And Isaac was saying something about laziness. Hi. The people are lazy. That's just like this, like the puritanical work ethic crap. That's very woven into American thought leaders' explanations for why people have money. They worked really, really hard, bootstraps pulled up, and so forth. So it's just like this American myth, like this like sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, what he was like a Paul Bunyan type thing. It's something that's just like woven into our stories, and our sense of patriotism is that. So it's really difficult, and conservatives in particular have a really strong tie to that as their identity. So it's really difficult when you get into political discussions to avoid somebody starting with that shit again. That is like, oh, people are lazy, and the nature of man is to be yada yada yada, and John Locke says that man is basically good, but other completely dead white guy says that man is greedy, and blah blah blah. So it's a bunch of philosophical bullshit that is.
You just brought me back to stuff from psychology class that I forgot happened.
Yeah, that sucks.
Like, I forgot that and I took ethics in college. That was something.
Yeah. Anybody else not impressed by John Locke and could have stood to skip that shit? Because I don't know.
And Hobbes or whatever his name was.
Yeah, Hobbes. There you go.
I was like, it started with an H. What the hell is it?
That's it. It's Hobbes.
Yep.
Two great men who debate in perpetuity as ghosts. Oh, gosh.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
can we just like accept that 90% of philosophers throughout history were totally lost and had no idea what the hell they were talking about?
Yeah, the falafel sirs, you mean?
The falafel sirs? That's just mean to the falafel.
I never got into falafel, so maybe that's why I think it's funnier. But okay, yeah.
Falafel's great. Big fan of falafel. There's a cafe down the street from here that makes a killer falafel
Maybe
sandwich.
I just don't like the sauce on it. That might be my problem. Anyways.
I don't either. I always order any falafel without tzatziki sauce.
Okay.
It has Greek yogurt and dill in it, which are two things that I really don't like. So I always order.
Not a combination I like.
any Greek anything that I order, I always order without tzatziki sauce because I don't like it. I'm
weird about sauces in general, so.
Me too. I'm a big sauce lover, but I'm also very particular about my sauces.
I'm actually not, which surprises people.
I probably have like a dozen different condiments in my fridge.
The only things we have here are the few things that he will use because I don't like sauces.
Yeah, I have like a Nashville hot sauce. I have like this truffle hot sauce that's really good. I have yellow mustard, I have deli mustard, I have honey mustard, I have sriracha mustard, I have sriracha. Uh, there's a couple other things in there that I can't remember right now. I like sauce.
See, and this just evidences that what we really want to do is just talk about sauce and have a good time. But
Yep.
What we really want to do is talk about food in general. So
yeah, that would be nice.
Meanwhile, I'm
Because
thinking about how like
that got
actually,
completely
I wanna talk
derailed. But oh
about
well.
actually I want to talk about how I shouldn't have to eat food
I want a
that
nutrient
that
brick.
yep. I want something that requires the least amount of mastication possible, and takes less than 60 seconds for me to consume, and I only have to do it 3 times a day.
Woohoo!
And then I never have to worry about cooking ever again unless I am specifically like craving flavor.
You know what's funny is like for like this like autism fund, right? Like if like people could have it be like I want someone to come in and cook. I'll be like, give me a $2 nutrient brick, and now can you pay for something else? Like, you know what I mean? Like we'd all be like, this is important, this is not, but we equally can't do it. I just like I will settle for garbage. Like I will in some areas.
I must be the
I,
weird one that just really likes food, but you know.
Some people do. Yeah.
My roommate's the same way. Like I've had this conversation with them a bunch. How like if I didn't have to eat, I would never eat again. Which is
I would.
which is not true, right? I'm making assumptions about my future that I can't possibly predict. But like if I didn't have to eat, I certainly wouldn't very often. Like I often go very long without eating when I'm hungry because I don't feel like eating. Like that's the only
Which
way I
is
can
valid.
describe it, is that like I don't feel like engaging in the process of eating something. And yeah, if I didn't have to, I would prefer to forego that process as often as possible.
I don't blame you.
I certainly crave foods. I really like Mexican food. I would definitely make exceptions for enchiladas as often as I could.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was thinking about something yesterday when I was showering, that one of the big problems that I have with showering is having to adjust to the temperature of the water. Um, I there's a lot of like general sensory problems. I think the feeling of being pelted by water is one of them. But more than anything else, it is having to sit in hot water and wait for my body to adjust to the temperature while also waiting for the ambient temperature in the bathroom to equalize with the temperature of the water, right? Because I'm dealing with the shock of hot water hitting my skin, and then also the cold or the air that I perceive as cold outside of the water. So any part of my body that is not under the stream of water um, feels cold. So I'm being shocked by the feeling of cold in those areas, and then I'm being shocked by the feeling of hot in the areas that are underwater until everything is equalized. And I was thinking, like, why aren't there, and this might exist for like super fancy rich people, but why don't showers have more specific and accurate like adjustment settings? Like a simple way to do it would to be, instead of having like a free sort of rotating system, have something that's notched so that you can like a thermostat where you know each each turn is a notch that you click for 1 degree, right? Like, why can't we do shower heads like that? Like, if I could match the temperature of the water to the external temperature of my body, I have to assume that the overwhelming majority of the sensory issues that I have with showering would disappear, because it would be like nothing. It like the water would feel like the temperature of my skin, and I guess you'd have to play around with it a bit because the water changes temperature in even the half second that it's traveling through the air. But like, there's no reason that we can't do this. We absolutely have the technological capabilities to create shower systems that accurately regulate the temperature of water. Why aren't we doing this? Like, I just showered for the first time in like 8 days. Why does that have to be my situation?
And this is why we need a separate thing that just addresses us. That's because like that's just different.
And like, that's just been my life. I've been a little bit better about it in recent years. I usually don't go quite so long, but like, especially when I'm working
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working a lot, and like, I don't make time to shower when I get home from work because I'm tired and don't want to subject myself to that. And then I wake up with like an hour before I have to be to work, so I don't have time to shower.
Right.
Easy for me to go more than a week without showering.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks because it makes my skin break out. It like, it creates all kinds of like other sensory issues around my daily life. And this isn't a problem that can be solved by willpower. Believe me, I've tried.
Right. And the thing too is like, if you were going to work on those daily living skills, right, other things have to be removed from the equation and actually dealt with without you having to deal with them. And that's what's
Right.
getting lost here.
Yeah, and like, certainly the frustrating thing is that I like being clean. I want to be clean. I'm very satisfied by the feeling of being clean.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's just not that simple. It is a complex enough situation that I cannot sufficiently be motivated by the feeling of wanting to be clean.
Right. Well, there's more going on than that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just okay. So a person that can be doesn't have the same situation. Period. The end. Like, just a different thing is happening entirely. So it's not the solution for what you're experiencing. It never was.
Right.
It never will be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
and the sort of external problem, like the problem with the external perception of that, is that I'm just comfortable being gross.
Right. Which you're
Right.
not.
That my living space is a mess because I'm comfortable in it. I'm a gross, greasy goblin because I'm comfortable being a gross, greasy goblin. Like, no, I'm not. I hate it. It makes me miserable. And none of those emotional sort of anchors are enough to get me to just do it,
See,
because
what I
there are
want to
so
say is
many
like,
other factors.
I want to say that like that. Okay, the idea that it would ever be enough is what I want to
Yes.
say that like that's not actually how people do things. They think that's how they're doing it, and maybe in their situation that describes it accurately enough that they don't have to give it a second of thought. But this is not
Right.
the same thing, and there is no way. Like, you could have 100% emotion, 0% emotion. No, emotions will never do that.
No, they won't.
So then you have to tell people like, hey, this isn't about you and what narrative you tell yourself. Although, yes, you may need to adapt it slightly now that you know that maybe you don't know what you're talking about, like in your own story. That's okay, sorry. But stop saying it. Just like, or, keep it to yourself. Like, that's an inside thought now. You can believe that about you, but don't believe that about how other people do those daily living tasks. That's not true, clearly. Like it's insulting.
It is.
And it makes it more difficult to ask for help, or not even ask for help, but like to ask for new ways of looking for help. Because if people are just going to come back with that, you know, it makes you not want to tell them anything. You know, so it's like, so you got to get people to say, like, you get to say, oh, just anything new. Like, just stop saying that. Stop saying that as a response.
Yeah, and it took me because something that I knew is that I take abnormally long showers. I've sort of always knew this to be a thing. And growing up, I never really knew why. And I guess I didn't have the context of my neurological condition to help me analyze it accurately. I thought I just appreciated like a sort of warm up period, because I've sat down in the shower as long as I can remember. And it's funny because I know that just from like observations and like memes and stuff, I know that sitting down in the shower is associated with like sadness and loneliness. That like sad and lonely people are reported to sit down in the shower more often than like content social people. And that's not my situation. It's that I am immobilized and I'm tense and I need to just sit down and wait for the sensory nightmare to end so that I can shower. And when I'm really pressed for time and just want to get clean, depending on how I'm feeling that day, as I think any of us can say, like there are, how should I say, there's a spectrum to our sensory issues. It's not so rigid. Some days it's better than others. And I'm able to just hop in, you know, get my body soaked and shower, and I'm good. And I can get in and out in 10 minutes or less. But usually I'm in the shower for upwards of 20 minutes.
20 minutes isn't that bad, by the way.
It's much longer than most people. Most people get in, they get soaked, they wash their body, they wash their hair, and they're done. It's not like a whole thing. Yeah.
I shower really fast though, so I don't know. I thought that doesn't sound that bad to me.
Like, and I would wonder if that's just a different sort of coping mechanism with it, where you, instead of forcing yourself through exactly, just let's just get this over with as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, and it took me a while to really, like even recently, to like fully understand what was going on, and like I just started to observe my behavior when I started to shower, and I realized that I was like clenching up, that like I'd be sitting like hugging my knees, like clenched, just like head pressed into my knees, just waiting for the discomfort to go away.
Yeah, I just like try not to think very much during it, and then like just get it over with and get out again. I avoid thinking during it as much as possible, and as soon as I start to notice what's happening, I'm like, time to finish this.
Which is interesting, because I think that's how I get through a lot of the other painful things. Like that's how I get through like dishes, right? Like I do my best not to think about my situation. I'm just like clean. Like I just sort of try to like really,
I basically stare at the shampoo and conditioner bottles the whole time.
Yeah. Like the more that I start to sort of pay attention to the situation when it comes to some other things, like the more I'm like, oh geez, I am almost at my limit. almost like as soon as I start to realize how uncomfortable I am, the more uncomfortable I feel. And yeah, I don't like. I guess I feel like at this point, it is more realistic to consider sort of more systemic solutions to that sort of problem than trying to change my behavior. Like, I just need a shower that is more conducive to my sensory needs. That's just a thing that I need in my life. What was else I was going to say?
Oh my god, my dog is driving me insane. He's like,
I mean, I
His bark is adorable.
thank you. He wants me to sit with him in the yard, but if I go that far, I lose the reception on my
Yeah.
headset. So he's like, no, you should be here. Okay, hold on.
Because dogs know.
He's like, this is fun. Come here.
So Isaac, I've tried it that way, and it just doesn't stick. I've definitely been through periods in my life where I just tried to get in and get out as soon as possible. I even started taking cold showers to try and facilitate that. And it just, I don't know, it didn't work. And the whole cold shower thing was really funny because I spent a lot of time around people that are like sort of in the self-help guru sort of space, headspace, online space sort of thing. So I had people in my life that were like doing the whole cold shower thing and trying to encourage me to take cold showers because physiologically there's a lot of evidence that shows that at least compared to hot showers, cold showers are very good for you. And I just
They're good
I
for your
couldn't.
face and stuff.
They're good for your circulatory system. They're good for a lot of things that I can't recall at this time. I know that's a big one though because it promotes vasodilation.
Yeah.
So it just like promotes better blood flow.
I've actually done the cold shower thing a couple times. It's
Yeah.
It's definitely like it's not something I do often, but when I need to snap myself out of things, it's actually been helpful for that.
That makes sense. It's quite a shock. But yeah, I remember trying to talk to them about how like genuinely painful it was, and they just went on about like willpower and stuff like that, and like now, and this was before I knew I was autistic, and like now I think I generally understand that like, oh, we weren't having the same experience.
No.
Like clearly, a very cold shower is going to be unpleasant for anybody. That's like walking out into the snow naked. But yeah. I now understand that. Just like genuinely, like, oh, we were having different experiences. Like,
We
this
only
was
know our
uncomfortable
normal.
for you. This was painful for me.
This is the I am not a duck thing, man.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
We need a shirt, Jane.
yes, I can make a shirt.
We can do that.
That needs to be the first shirt. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I could
just
have
in
a
general.
YouTube merchandise thing finally. That's what I should do.
That shirt needs to be first.
Okay, great. Can do. All right. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to take my dog back inside in a minute. He's just not letting up.
Merlin.
He's extra right now because obviously while I was resting, I couldn't take him out very much. So He got to go to the park
Right.
yesterday, but I haven't had a chance to do that before then. So he's not having the best time anyway, so he's kind of like, blah. Okay, I'm gonna pick him up.
It is sort of the, I don't know, the unfortunate downside of having a medium-sized mammal pet
Yeah, and like,
as an autistic person is just that, like, they're gonna make noise,
Yeah.
and that's difficult.
yeah, that part's hard. My dad kind of like accidentally, I won't blame it all on my dad, but like it could have been a little bit better, I think. But my dad started making noise back at him, and that's the last thing you should do. You should just let
Well,
him tire out. Otherwise,
I
they're
think,
like, oh, we're barking together.
yeah, I think I had the same issue because cats don't meow to communicate with each other. There are some sounds that they'll use to communicate.
Like growling.
Yeah, they'll growl, they'll chitter, but typically cats don't use vocalization. Like adult cats don't use vocalization to communicate with each other. Very young kittens vocalize to get the attention of their mothers.
Yeah.
And so house cats have developed a similar behavior with humans. They meow at us to communicate to us. It's
Yep.
very much a thing that they do to communicate with humans, almost exclusively. And I, for as long as I can remember, have been having cat conversations with my cat. Right, when he meows at me, I meow back.
Right.
And I think over the course of like 10 years, that has encouraged him to be as talkative as possible. And most of the time, it's very cute. I appreciate
That's adorable.
him. But sometimes I'm in a headspace where I just want to muzzle him because he won't shut up. He doesn't actually want anything. When I try to give him attention, it doesn't like satisfy him. He's just being talkative. And it drives me up the wall because he won't shut up, and there's nothing I can do to make him stop making sounds. And it gets very overwhelming because it is rather high pitched, so it's sort of very invasive as far as sounds go. And I blah, blah. Yeah, it's like the one part of having him as a pet that I struggle with. Yeah. It's also why I'm not super keen about getting a dog, because I would have to be really diligent about training them not to bark.
Yeah, we in our family, the first dog we got when I was 12 was a beagle, so you would have hated that.
I mean, I love dogs. Dogs are fantastic, but like I've had plenty of situations in my life where I've been around dogs that barked a lot, and it was very hard for me to do.
He didn't bark, but he howled at everything.
Yeah, that's rough.
Like he howled at police cars, he howled at fireworks, he howled during thunderstorms when he was stressed. It's a hound thing. If you can't handle barking, hounds are not.
Merlin has
Yeah.
howled like twice ever. Once I got him to do it because I was doing like a woo, but one time a fire truck went by and he like did a full on like howl at the moon type thing. I was like, what was that?
Yeah. We had a husky mix who she was very, very quiet, and not because we trained her to do that. She just never, like, she was 3 years old when we adopted her, and she just didn't really make sound.
Yeah, some dogs, they just don't.
Which, for a husky mix, is, like, insane.
Mm-hmm.
They're known for being talkative. She, like, would do this, like, very quiet howl every once in a while. But it was just, it's odd. I've had of that spectrum. And thankfully, dog howling didn't bother me, apparently. But
Yeah, it bothered my dad, so then he started making noise back, and that ruined the whole thing. But oh well.
that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've definitely done the same thing where like Bastion is just being particularly obnoxious, and I'm just like meow, meow. Yeah, I can do that too, meow, and
Yep, that's what
it
my
only
dad.
encourages him to like
Yeah.
be louder.
That's yeah, we the cat that before I was born, my mom got a kitten, and we had him until I was 20. So he learned to meow back to everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, Merlin. Now when he's talking with me, he realized it works better if he just makes pathetic whining noises. So that I don't mind that. Like from an autistic perspective, that's fine. It's like, oh, that's cute.
That's honestly kind of adorable.
Yeah.
But dogs aren't stupid. They know what will get your attention eventually.
And when he
Cats
wants,
too.
because I have my loft bed, when he wants to go down, like he'll start up, like he revs up an engine almost, where he just like starts, he starts like sighing, like, like I'm just like, oh boy. Then it turns into whining. It's like,
Your little tiny dog whining. Oh my god.
it's very cute.
But yeah, like Bastion definitely has like tones that he uses when he specifically wants my attention. Which is partly why I'm able to identify when he's just being talkative to be talkative, because it's a different tone. When he like I more than especially since I got an automatic feeder a while ago, it's not uncommon for me to forget to refill his water. And he'll come shouting at me, and at first I'll kind of be like, "What? Like, what do you want?" And then, you know, like one big thing with him is that when he wants something, and I move, like at all, if I make any movements that could indicate that I'm getting up, he darts out of the room, and like usually that's the indication, you know. If that doesn't immediately tip me off, he'll come back and do it again, and I'm like, oh, that's right, I didn't refill your water. Or even that'll tip me off to be like, oh, did I forget to refill your water? And I'll go check it. Yeah.
Clementine will do that. She won't make noise at me, but she'll come over, look at you as if she wants pet, and then keep slowly leading you to the water dish.
Ha! That's cute. Oh, you know what Merlin
She
does?
is.
Merlin, his water dish, if it's empty, he'll just sadly like plop down and lick it.
Oh,
That's adorable.
Yeah.
that is really cute.
Our husky mix at first actually would pick up her bowl in her mouth out of the holder and carry it over to you and stare at you with it in her mouth until you fed her.
That's great.
And mind you, a husky doing that is very adorable.
Yes, absolutely. I'm inclined to believe that this is probably common cat behavior. Certainly, you could help confirm, Shadow, but like Bastion is well aware of the things that he's not supposed to do. And when I'm not paying attention to him, like if I'm playing a game or watching a movie and he really wants my attention, or if I'm like not immediately available, he will do things that he's not supposed to do. He'll get up on my desk, he'll scratch at the walls. He only does these things when he wants my attention. It's not something he does for his own benefit. He specifically does it because he knows it will get me to get up and go, hey, stop doing that. And then I'm already up, so he can be like, no, come here.
I'm currently glaring at Oreo because his entire existence is doing things to annoy us to get our attention.
Yeah.
And I say this because Oreo will jump on Jay's desk, walk over in front of his computer, put his paws on his shoulders, and headbutt his face, and then just climb into his arms.
That's adorable.
He is the most like, no, I am demanding your attention. He doesn't ask for it, he just demands it.
Yeah. Bastion is also very like that. Especially ever since he got back from the hospital back in 2021. He developed the behavior of just jumping into my lap whenever he feels like.
That's
and
adorable.
I tend to take very abnormal seated positions. So often I'm sort of balled up in my chair in a way that does not facilitate his ability to find a good place to sit in my lap. So he'll just like as soon as he lands when he jumps up, it's like him fumbling around trying to figure out how to sit. And it's often very startling for me.
What is today? Is it the 14th?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna know exactly what day it is every day until July.
Hey, that's neat.
Like I said, I have a countdown on my phone, and I showed my therapist this, and she just laughed.
No, I've used countdowns before. I think it's a great idea. Like, yeah.
I only do it for big things like this.
Yeah, totally.
Like when I was finally finishing college, I had a countdown to the last day of finals.
Nice. I did
because college was interesting.
Mhm. Where did you? Well, I don't know if you want to.
Hmm?
Did you go to like a major university or?
How do I say this? If you're in Ohio, it's not like one of the biggest ones that other people out of state would first think of.
Okay, got it.
You know, like I didn't go to like Ohio State, for instance.
Right.
So if you're from not Ohio, you probably don't know where it is.
Got it. Okay, that was sort of the question. Yeah.
So, I mean,
Did you go to school in Sandusky?
no. No, I did not.
I know that there's a relatively large university in Sandusky.
There is. That is not
But
close
it would
to the
also,
area where I am, though.
like, still not be one of the more well-known ones.
Yeah,
Really,
exactly.
the only thing that people know about in Sandusky is, what's the place called? The amusement park?
Cedar Point.
Cedar Point, that's the one.
Yeah. Even though I do not live in Sandusky, I have been in Ohio my whole life, so obviously I've been to Cedar Point a number of times.
Yeah. When I was living in Toledo, my dad came to visit me one year, and we went to Cedar Point. I got sick, so it didn't end up being as good experience as we would have liked. There were a lot of rides we didn't get to ride because after getting sick, I was nauseated for like 2 hours.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's not like you get sick from going on a ride and then you're like, all right, I'm good, let's go.
Right.
You're like, I think I'm done.
Yeah, I've been to Cedar Point several times now, but I've learned that even though I like roller coasters a lot, like I actually really do love them. I think that on a more regular basis, I think I prefer water parks and slides and stuff.
Water parks make me uncomfortable.
Some people, I'm sure it does. I'm just not one of those people, apparently.
They're very gross places.
Oh yeah, and to be honest, I've just chosen to pretend like I don't know that.
That's fair. Because otherwise, they're very
one
fun places to be.
Because to be honest, I think that everyone has that one like thing that they know is true that they choose to pretend isn't. That's mine.
And there's Jane, who's like, I've never been to a water park.
Oh, I've been. I just didn't do anything there. There is
Why'd
one
you go?
because I was a
I'm so
kid.
confused.
I was
right.
I was a kid and they make you go to things and I went once and I don't know, I ate a hot dog and watched everyone be wet and that was it.
Yep.
But yes, me and Jay's first trip in a different city really was to a water park. So, I mean, obviously, water does not bother me any.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jane.
Oh, I can't swim. I don't know if that story came through.
Yeah, I was thinking about bringing that up in case it was unclear to anybody here.
Yeah.
I did not know that, but
so here's what happened. You know how the swim instructors have to touch you?
Yeah.
I found out that child molesters existed, so I wouldn't let the swim instructor touch me because I thought that he was a child molester.
I cried the first day when in like 5th grade or whatever when they take you to, in my school district, they take you to the high school's pool to teach you how to swim. And for the first 2 days or whatever, I cried and refused to go under the water until somebody got me goggles.
See, I think what happened, and I'm glad.
Yes, Jay, that happened.
when I said like you are not allowed to touch me, they did not touch me, which is fire. Like I got to learn that if I say no, don't touch me, an adult can't touch me, which is dope. So I think that's more valuable than swimming. So, but that's what happened.
Correct. They did the correct thing in that situation. They just probably weren't prepared of how to deal with that.
Yeah, it led to nothing for me.
Yeah, they were like, oh, okay, I guess you're not learning how to swim.
Yeah, I kicked at the wall the whole time. I kicked at a wall for like 7 weeks.
I have very, very vague visual imagery of like when I learned to swim, but I don't actually really remember.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
It's Isaac.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Isaac.
Hey, wait, Jane. So I was asked in stream, but do you not know how to swim still?
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea.
Yo, that sucks. You should. I would be more than happy to teach you to swim if I ever got the chance. I always offer to because I really like when people I know learn how to swim because it means that they won't die in water.
Yeah, I think that would be good. But I have had people. The problem is, okay, so 2 people have tried to teach me before, and both of them insisted that because I was a ballet dancer, I should get it quickly, and that did not happen. So it just turned into me being angry and not swimming.
No, it takes some people a little while, but you will get it eventually, and it's worth learning because otherwise you're like a video game character, when you go in the water in like Spider-Man 2, and it's just like, game over, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Just like what? Spider-Man doesn't know how to swim? Okay.
I know, right? Why does Spider-Man of all people not know how to swim? He's in New York.
When really it's like coding this very superfluous thing is too costly. We're not going to do it. So
it's
you go in the water, you die.
It's not just the coding; it's also the game design part of it. But
yeah, like they have to. Well, I mean, they already have the model, right? Like after you have the model set up, it's really just about coding in actions for the model.
Yeah, but that's something you don't want people to swim because the game is about swinging around, moving.
Yeah.
You want them to be.
Yeah, it's just like.
I was about to say, it's not fish, man. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's also like an allocation of resources sort of thing, right? Like, oh, if we're gonna code Spider-Man swimming, okay, well then we have to have water parts. There has to be something in the game that facilitates him swimming. Like we're not just gonna put it in to put it in, right?
And that's the other thing is water parks first. Forgot about that.
What's that?
I need to go to a water park with my friends at some point. I really want to get them to do that before the season is over.
I really want to go to an amusement park.
That'd be cool.
I haven't been since I went to Cedar Point.
Oh, you should go to Great America.
Yeah. We should go to Great America. You like roller coasters, don't you, Jane?
Yeah, I do.
Cool.
Okay.
We should do that sometime.
Yeah.
So
Um,
all of us here like roller coasters. This is a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
Shadow, I'm sure that you're familiar with it. Maybe it's new enough. I don't know. It was the Millennium Force that ultimately got me sick. And for those that may not be aware, and even Shadow, it might be new enough. The Millennium Force has like a 70-degree drop. That is like 300 or 400 feet long. So by the time you hit the bottom, you're going 110 miles per hour. Yeah. And then you hit the first curve going like 90 miles an hour. And it actually wasn't the Millennium Force that made me sick. It was the next roller coaster that we went on. But I just hadn't cooled down enough from that experience that basically as soon as we got on the next roller coaster, I was like, oh, I'm going to be sick.
The sad thing for me is that the Millennium Force at Cedar Point is actually my favorite at Cedar Point. And I say that because I once went to Cedar Point in like October because the marching band that I was in went there for like Halloween weekend stuff. So we got to run around the park when nobody was there.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I rode front car in the Millennium Force twice in a row before I went other places.
That's neat. One thing I definitely didn't expect, and I mean, I know this about speed, but it just didn't occur to me at the time, is that when you're going that fast, it's very hot. Like it was a relatively warm day as it was, but yeah, when air particles are hitting your face at 110 miles per hour, it's pretty hot.
Yeah. I will say, even though I did enjoy every ride I've been on there, I don't enjoy the dragster enough to wait in line for it ever again.
I don't think I would ever ride the dragster.
I did, but the only thing that makes me uncomfortable with the dragster is that you only have you don't have if I had something like, you know how the Raptor has the part over your chest and stuff?
Yeah.
If the dragster had something like keeping my upper body still, I'd be fine with it. It's because there's only the lap bar that I don't
So for
that.
more of the uninitiated, the dragster is a roller coaster that is about 5 seconds long.
And it goes straight up.
Yeah. So it's just like you go straight up, and then you curve and come back down, and then it's over.
Yes.
And it has like before you go up, it has just like a solid 50 to 100 feet of I guess I don't know what you would call them, but they're like the things for like Hot Wheels tracks, where it's just a spinning wheel that like pushes you forward. So it's just a ton of those in a line that gets you up to like 120 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So you just shoot straight up and then curve and come back down.
Oh, it's like
yeah. And Rowan, you should know that the first time I rode the dragster, and this can happen on any roller coaster, it tried to shoot us up and it came backwards at first.
Oof, that's scary.
Because it didn't go all the way up, so they then had to shoot it off again.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, basically. Jay just said you got to ride it twice, and I'm like, kind of, but
I guess.
the first time was more terrifying.
There is a roller coaster at Carowinds in...
I've heard of that, but I don't know where it is.
Where the hell is
right.
Carowinds? Is that North Carolina?
Yeah, it is. My friend in North Carolina mentioned that she went there at one point.
Yeah, I've been to Carowinds a bunch, because I lived in South Carolina for most of my life.
Okay.
And there's one there, I can't remember what it's called, but it's extremely old. like it's one of the oldest roller coasters in the park. Like the park, I just looked it up, opened in 1973, and it's been there pretty much since the beginning. And sometimes at one of the highest peaks, which is like it goes up to a peak and then it's like a really long curve that's like mostly flat. Sometimes it just gets stuck in that long curve, and then you get stuck there until somebody can come release the track and push you along. And a fun story about Carowinds, about my initiation into roller coasters when I was probably 8 or 9, maybe 10. I can't remember exactly, but somewhere in that age range, we went to Carowinds for the first time, and I got to I rode a bunch of the smaller rides and such, and one of the sort of flagship rides at Carowinds is the Carolina. Shit, man, I don't remember. I wanted to say the Carolina Reaper, but that is a pepper.
Yeah.
The Carolina Cyclone. That's what it is. And the Cyclone has 2 vertical loops and 2 barrel rolls. And I had never ridden anything like that before. And so I was very scared. And it took a little bit of coaxing to get me on. But I had been riding some of the softer roller coasters. So I was sort of jazzed up about the idea of riding something a little bit bigger. And I remember that when we were going up, when it was like pulling us up for the first drop, I was basically having a full-scale meltdown. I was freaking out. I was sobbing. I was shouting. I was begging to get off the roller coaster.
Oh,
but
no.
there's no one there to get you off the roller coaster. You're already on it.
Right.
And my mom was sitting right next to me and doing everything she could to tell me that it was going to be great, that I was going to have fun. Because what's she going to do? She can't get me off of it. So she's got to try and get me in, and help me to get through it. And I was so terrified, just freaking out by the time we got to the top, right before the drop. And I remember by the time we got about halfway through the first loop, I was exhilarated. Just all of my fear and terror just vaporized instantly, and I was having so much fun.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, and that was the day that I learned that, holy shit, I love roller coasters.
My favorite roller coaster is probably still in Missouri at Silver Dollar City. They have a roller coaster that was called the Powder Keg. So a name like that, I think, is one that I had to get on when I saw the name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think about my favorite.
Because the powder.
Go ahead.
The powder keg, you get in the seat, and then once you're in it, the line of track that you are on and everyone that's in that car, it slowly moves over onto the actual track. And what they don't tell you is that as soon as that track clicks into the rest of the track, it just shoots off.
Neat.
There's not a countdown. It just clicks and then it goes.
I was gonna say, thinking about my favorite roller coaster, I feel like there's potentially one at Cedar Point that could be my favorite, and it's the Gatekeeper. We didn't get to ride the Gatekeeper because we didn't want to do it first. We were gonna do it. We were basically gonna sort of do a circle around the park and come back and do Gatekeeper when we were getting ready to leave. But of course I got sick, And then my dad has a bad neck. So by the time we got that far, both of us were just like, nah, let's just go home. But I think to this point, my favorite is the Hulk at Universal Studios. And it sounds like it's similar to the powder keg.
Yeah.
It's a dangle coaster, so it's one where like your feet are dangling.
Yeah.
And there is a very, very short like rise period, so like just to like sort of get you out of the loading zone. And then as soon as you get to sort of the opening to get out of the building that the loading zone is in, it just rockets you out. And right, like coming right out of the sort of opening of the building, there's a corkscrew. So it just shoots you out into a corkscrew, and it's so much fun.
My least favorite ride, I think, at Cedar Point is still the Raptor. I just don't like it.
Really, that was the first one that we rode. We had a lot of fun with that one.
I don't know. I've learned that like that one went upside down so much that I just feel nauseous every time. So So I don't usually ride that one as much anymore, but pretty much everything else there I will ride.
One that I really wish I could have rode, and I could only ride under very unlikely circumstances at this point, is the Superman at Six Flags in Georgia. And it's called the Superman because you are placed parallel to the ground.
That's neat.
So it's like you're like it starts out like a sort of a normal dangle sort of coaster, and then it shifts you forward so that you're looking down at the ground, so that you're like flying through like Superman. And when we went to Six Flags, I was not tall enough to ride the Superman.
Sad.
My favorite coaster was something called the Grizzly because it was the oldest one in the park and it felt like it was literally going to fall apart while you were on it, and it scared all the other kids, so I just liked being able to do that and not I don't know. It wasn't like that fun or anything. They just were scared of it. So I was like, cool, I will not be scared of it.
That's how it was riding that old roller coaster that I was talking about at Carowinds.
Yeah.
Everybody was like so scared to get on it because they were like, we're gonna die, it's gonna stop, and we're gonna fall.
Yeah,
and I'm
it was
like,
it was an old wooden roller coaster.
Yeah.
And it had like historical like photos and stuff, so people were like, "Oh hell no!"
Well, this is not safe.
It's a roller coaster. I don't get on it for safety.
Right. My logic was it's the most safe because it would sound really bad if somebody got hurt on it.
That's kind of how I feel too. They're not gonna let it derail because then they have less people that'll get on it.
Right.
And also, when I apparently get affected by adrenaline a lot, so I just shut up, Jay.
It's funny. I'm definitely not a thrill seeker, but I love roller coasters.
In other aspects, I'm probably not. Like in the case that I have a couple friends that have motorcycles, and I'm like, I will not get on that with you. It will not happen.
I've been on they're not fun. They're scary. Well, and like the motorcycle
What,
thing
Jay?
too. The motorcycle thing, you have to trust the person knows
Please
what they're
don't.
doing. So it's like.
Motorcycles are much more fun when you're the one riding it. They're still terrifying, but a friend of mine, probably back in like 2015, something like that, got a pretty small motorcycle. It was like 150 cc's, and he brought it around, and I was driving a stick shift car at the time, so I had like a general idea of like how a manual transmission functioned. So he didn't really have to teach me anything.
Right.
He just had to give me the cautions of like, be super careful with the throttle because the bike will come out from under you if you go too hard. And yeah, I got to sort of ride it around my neighborhood, and it was awesome. It was super fun. And there was one point where like I sort of did a U-turn and hit the throttle too hard, and the bike shot out from under me.
Oh my god.
But it was like I caught myself quick enough that like
Yeah.
it didn't fly out from under me, and like I didn't hit the ground. Like it just sort of popped up, and I like put my feet down. I was like, whoa, put the bike back down and rode it back to my house. But yeah, I've also been on the back of one, and that's scary.
Yeah. What did I want to say? Oh yeah, the roller coaster thing. I also think that like because I was able to like the roller coaster, I was like identifying with that at the time. So I was like, oh, I'm a kid that likes roller coasters. That's cool about me. I'm very short and scared of everything, but not this roller coaster. So I'll just like inhabit that, because other things I was scared of like people. So
Yeah,
not being afraid of the roller coaster was like something to, redeem myself.
that makes sense to me. Oh, also, Isaac, I just saw your question. My cat's name came from the Supergiant Games debut game, Bastion.
Dude, that's so cool. I remember playing that game on my brother's Xbox. Oh, that's so cool. And he was so mad at me for doing it like without telling him or whatever. And but I don't care. That was like fantastic. That was one of the best video game experiences I've ever had.
It's a very good game. I'm a
Really
big
good.
fan of that game. Big fan of that developer. They never miss. They just make high quality games
They
all
really
the
do
time.
never. I'm really glad that Hades blew up as much as it did because it really deserves to have. It is a fantastic game.
Yeah,
And that company
no,
deserves it.
easily one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this with some other people that like there's some sort of tenuous attitudes about them making a sequel to Hades.
Tenuous
and tenuous at it, like people are very apprehensive and concerned about the integrity of them as a developer because they've never made a sequel before. And certainly today's sort of media landscape, sequels are very frequently associated with a lack of creative integrity. Usually, especially like very much, especially right now in today's media landscape, it is associated with investors, executives, producers, directors, so forth, identifying a valuable property and continuing to produce that property for the sake of profitability. And certainly, I don't think that there's none of that going on. Like Hades is far and away Supergiant Games' most successful property, like financially and commercially. But I am confident enough in them as a developer, knowing that the circumstances under like throughout the company have not significantly changed since the release of Hades, that they're genuinely making a sequel because they really enjoyed what they created and have new ideas in that development space that they think they can utilize, that there are novel and exciting ideas that they have for that, and they're doing it because they want to explore those ideas, not because they've discovered a cash cow that they can milk.
I honestly, I have hope for them though. Yeah, I think they're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
The game will be fine.
Yeah, I don't typically have a lot of respect for video game developers these days. But I think they're gonna do a good job.
Yeah.
It's almost 3.
That's
So,
Oh, what? Yeah.
did
That's
everyone
Ninja.
get everything done they wanted to get done?
No,
I did.
Okay.
I got my room clean. It's not all the way clean, but
I got some dishes done.
That's good. I didn't do my dishes. I didn't
haven't
do that
washed
much
my-
laundry.
I mean, I joined as soon as I got out of bed because I knew if I didn't, I wasn't going to join at all. And when I went to make coffee, I was probably just going to wash the coffee cups that I needed, and then move on with my day. But because I was able to get myself right into this call, I was able to do like an actual solid amount of dishes
Nice.
before getting my
Good.
coffee.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm a little frustrated because I woke up early enough. Like I woke up when my alarm went off
Hmm.
and was like rousing and like trying to get myself up, but I accidentally dismissed my alarm instead of snoozing it and went back to sleep until noon. And I have a job thing to be at tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, which is an hour away. So I have to wake up at 7 a.m. tomorrow to be ready to go there, and I won't be able to fall asleep tonight until like 2 a.m.
Oh, do you have Benadryl?
No,
Can you get Benadryl?
I do not have money for Benadryl.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I'll make do.
Okay.
I'll set more alarms this time. I'll set stopgaps and such to ensure I get up on time.
Where are you heading to? Like, well,
South
is it
San
far?
Francisco.
Okay, yeah.
It's about an hour transit.
Okay, got it.
For a sales job that I super don't want.
Hmm.
But I don't have that luxury anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, it's good that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
But as long as I don't screw it up, which I don't think I will, it pretty much seems like I have the job. So that's good.
Okay, I'm gonna tie this off then. I got some stuff done. I have a bit of a headache, so I'm gonna go take Tylenol and see if that'll kick it. And thank you for coming, and thanks for cleaning and doing whatever you needed to do. My stuff is better. Yep. I'll do more stuff in the Discord this week too. Like a lot more.
Cool.
Yeah, and then I'll be figuring out the circle stuff this week too, because I gotta pay for the service and start it up that way. Okay. All right.
Okie dokie.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Jenny.